You know that uncomfortable pause when someone casually asks, "So, what do you do?" And suddenly your mind freezes because the honest answer sounds chaotic. You design visuals, write bits of code, think in metaphors, read about the brain for fun, and recently decided it would be reasonable to learn woodworking at 2 a.m. That moment when you wonder, is there something wrong with me? Here's the twist. There might not be anything wrong at all. In fact, by the end of this decade, you might be the most strategically valuable person in the room. While everyone else was busy narrowing themselves into a single lane, digging deeper and deeper into one specialty, you were quietly roaming the map, collecting skills, perspectives, and curiosities like side quests. And for a long time, the world didn't know what to do with people like you. Jack of all trades, master of none, they'd say. Unfocused, indecisive. Career advisors scanned your resume like it was written in an ancient language. You need clarity, they said. Pick one thing. But what they never mentioned is this. The definition of value has changed, and your mind has been adapting to that shift long before anyone noticed. For most of the last century, society worshipped the specialist. The rules of success were stable, predictable, almost mechanical. Go deep, repeat the same skill, become exceptional in one narrow domain. Psychologists call this a kind learning environment, a world where feedback is fast, rules are consistent, and mastery comes from repetition. But that world is gone. Today, we live in what researchers call a wicked learning environment. The rules change mid-game. Feedback is delayed or misleading. Patterns are blurry. What worked yesterday can suddenly fail tomorrow. Think about the difference between a chess grandmaster and an emergency responder. Chess is stable. Same board, same rules, clear feedback. A firefighter, on the other hand, enters a new reality every single call. No two situations are identical. Old knowledge might help, or it might be useless. In a wicked world, hyper-specialization creates blind spots, and without realizing it, you've been training for chaos your entire life. There's a name for people like you, M-shaped professionals. Imagine the letter M. Most people are I-shaped, one deep vertical line of expertise, strong but narrow. Others fall into the dash-shaped trap, wide curiosity, shallow depth, a little of everything, but nothing solid enough to stand on. That's where anxiety lives, because there's no real foundation. The M-shaped person is different. Picture this: one deep pillar might be software development. You commit, you go deep. That's your stability. That's how you pay rent. Then you build a second deep pillar. Maybe psychology or product thinking or storytelling, and the horizontal connections between them. That's your design sense, your curiosity about neuroscience, your understanding of people and systems. Suddenly you're not scattered. You're the person who builds things that actually work and feel right. You understand constraints and human emotion. That combination is rare and increasingly powerful. And it's not just intuition anymore. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report made it official. By 2030, nearly 40% of core job skills will change entirely, not improve, not refine, change. The fastest growing skills: creative thinking, adaptability, resilience, analytical reasoning combined with synthesis across fields. In plain language, the future belongs to people who can move between worlds. But let's be real, this path has a catch. You can't build every pillar at the same time. That's how people end up dash-shaped, overwhelmed, and unsure of their value. The solution isn't endless dabbling, it's serial mastery. You choose one pillar for a season, 6 months, a year, maybe a little longer. You commit long enough to master the essential 80%, not global expert status, just fluency. Confidence. Competence without needing instructions. And when your curiosity feels complete, you don't drift away out of boredom. You graduate. This isn't quitting, it's strategic completion. Then you deliberately begin the next pillar. The hardest part is choosing where to start. And here's the truth. You don't need the perfect answer. Lower the stakes. You're not choosing your identity forever. You're choosing your focus for now. Pick what gives you stability, or pick what excites you most this season. Just pick one. Because something powerful happens when you move across disciplines. You train your brain in far transfer, the ability to recognize patterns beneath the surface and apply them in completely different domains. A specialist uses near transfer, same skill, similar problem. You see structure. A person who studies ecosystems might suddenly reorganize a company's workflow. A musician might design cleaner software architecture. A writer might solve a data problem by seeing the story inside the numbers. That's far transfer. That's seeing the melody, not just the notes. And this is where AI hits a wall. Algorithms can optimize, they can replicate patterns, but they can't live at the intersection of technology and emotion. They can't borrow wisdom from architecture, psychology, and storytelling to design something that feels human. That's M-shaped work. That's your edge. This path isn't smooth. You'll go from expert to beginner again and again. Your career will look less like a ladder and more like abstract art. But remember the straight ladder companies that vanished when the world shifted. Being the best at something obsolete isn't safety, it's fragility. Meanwhile, every time you explored a new interest, you were strengthening adaptability, training cognitive flexibility, preparing for uncertainty. One more reframe, your job doesn't have to be your passion. Many polymaths had low-drain, stable work that gave their minds freedom. Einstein worked in a patent office. Stability isn't selling out, it's scaffolding. A job that consumes everything leaves no space for exploration. A job that supports you quietly creates room for brilliance. And finally, you need a system. Your mind produces ideas faster than it can hold them. If you don't store them, they vanish. Capture your curiosities. Write notes. Save fragments. Let fascinations end without guilt. Years later, those notes will resurface at the perfect moment. A cathedral becomes a website. A myth becomes a product strategy. That's synthesis. That's magic. But only if you leave breadcrumbs. The companies that understand this are already shifting how they hire. They're no longer asking, what's your specialty? They're asking, what's your combination? Creative technologists, human-centered strategists, leaders who bridge systems and people. By 2030, millions of new roles will exist, but only for those who can learn, adapt, and connect what others keep separate. Innovation isn't memorization, it's translation. It's stealing insight from one world and applying it to another. So if you've spent your life feeling scattered, misunderstood, or pressured to just pick one thing, maybe you were never broken. Maybe you were early. You're not unfocused. You're a scanner, a bridge builder, a future polymath. Pick your first pillar. Build it with intention. Use stability as a platform, not a prison. Capture your curiosity. The world finally needs people who can see how everything connects. Welcome to the M-shaped future. You've been training for this your whole life. If this resonated, subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, consider becoming a channel member. It genuinely helps keep this work alive.